There's no really right way to stealth. Each of us have different styles and ways of going about stealth levels. Some like to take out every enemy in a level, regardless if they are seen or not. I mean, if there are no witnesses, you are still undetected, right? Others like me love to try and pass through enemies without touching them, get from point A to point B without being seen, just like a ghost. Then there are those like Stealth Gamer BR and Altair Stealth, who put all their skill points on stealth and lethality, creating a collage of violence and awesomeness, individuals who have tamed death and play around at the edge of a blade. But what if I tell you that these are all wrong ways to do stealth? Now, I know I just said there is no right way to stealth, and that is true in a subjective way. However, if we consider level design, stealth tools, and sometimes mission objectives, leaning heavily on a particular style such as ghosting or John Wicking everybody means not using a certain tool or ability. This locks you out of certain options and won't make you appreciate the game as a whole. You might even miss certain aspects of the game that 90% of the players will encounter. Take for example the optional objectives in Assassin's Creed games. There are objectives that will say air assassinate 3 guards or kill a group of enemies by shooting a powder keg. If you're ghosting, you will likely not do this and will fail the optional objective. Alternatively, if you're going all Rambo throughout the levels, objectives like don't engage in combat or don't kill more than 2 guards will be impossible for you to finish. And so this kinda leaves the option of doing what the game tells you, right? So if an optional objective tells you that you can assassinate guards, then you can feel free to kill. If it says don't engage in combat, you can go and ghost through the level. And on paper, this would seem to be the correct way of playing a stealth level. Or is it? What if you fail the optional objectives? For instance, what if it says don't get spotted and you get spotted? Now if you're like me, you will likely click the escape button and choose to retry from the last checkpoint. From here, you now have an idea of enemy patterns and timings. You're likely to get past them undetected and perform stealth assassinations more safely. But what if you fail again? You make the wrong turn and now you've been seen. Do you reload again and try to complete the optional objective? I mean, if that is the right way to stealth, then I guess yeah, you should reload and complete those side objectives. And this doesn't only apply to optional objectives. It can also apply to simply reloading when you get spotted on a stealth game. I don't know about others, but even when I am not ghosting, I have this itch that I get whenever I get spotted by a bunch of enemies. Like, whenever an alarm goes off and tells every guard in the vicinity that I am there, I cannot stop myself from reloading. It just really feels wrong to fight the enemies head on and go to the next objective. This is most true on stealth-heavy games like Dishonored, Deus Ex, and even Assassin's Creed Unity. In others like Valhalla and Odyssey, it doesn't bother me as much since the context of the games doesn't really tell you that Eivor and Cassandra remain stealthy all the time. But if in a mission an enemy tells me to be stealthy, then I will reload to make sure I finish that quest unseen. But going back to the topic, would reloading to complete the side objectives be the right way to stealth? Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, reloading or simply save scumming, I think, is a very common practice in stealth games. It's just a natural thing that a player will do if you want to master a level or truly complete a section without being seen. I mean, a stealth game is basically a string of trial and error until you're able to reach your destination. But to say that save scumming or reloading is part of the stealth gameplay is terribly bad. Especially when it isn't. To be fair though, there are games that make save scumming an actual part of the gameplay. Take for example the game Shadwen. In this game, you have full control of time, like actual time. Every time you press a button, time moves forward. But if you press R, you can rewind time. And when you die, either by falling to your death or being instantly killed by a guard, the way you reload is actually just to rewind time as well. You don't reload to the last checkpoint but simply rewind time to backtrack your steps. And this makes the trial and error in Shadwen immersive and actually cool. But since modern stealth games are not really innovating on anything, this mechanic just floats there waiting for the next developer to take advantage of it. Anyway, yeah, as much as I love save scumming, it isn't the right way to stealth because it just takes you out of the experience. And the most important thing I believe is that it makes you less reactive to what is actually happening on a stealth level, and strips away a certain aspect of stealth that we all seem to set aside, the act of escaping. You see, nowadays, we view perfect stealth as going into a level and getting out without being seen. I mean, personally, that is what I love to do, and this makes sense. Perfect stealth means being completely undetected throughout the mission. Every move, every turn is made with the precision of a mathematical equation. However, in an actual stealth game, perfect stealth can only be achieved through laborious trial and error. This means getting spotted and almost being spotted is part of the gameplay loop. Think about it, most stealth games have smoke bombs that you can use to blind enemies, but also something that you can use during an oh shit moment where you are about to get detected. In some games like AC Mirage and Splinter Cell, there are abilities like Mark and Execute and Assassin's Focus that you can use during moments where you have no way of avoiding detection. In Dishonored, you have Stop Time and Possession, which you can use to bypass moments where you are about to get detected. Then there are abilities like in Brotherhood and Revelations where you can call a rain of arrows to eliminate enemies in the vicinity, which is very helpful when you've been spotted by a bunch of guards. Now, while you can use all these abilities in other stealthy ways, using them as tools for escaping and losing detection will allow you to experience a stealth game in a different light. Because instead of just sneaking around, getting in and out undetected, you add a new aspect to the game. You create a game of escaping. And no, killing everyone who has spotted you should not be considered escaping. I think one of the best games that did this was actually Assassin's Creed 1. You see, in AC1, the actual way an assassination would happen is you go into a city, you investigate, you find your target, you try to get close to your target unseen, and then you perform a public assassination, alarming guards and causing the city bells to be rung. Then the next step is your escape. You run through the rooftops, parkour your way to safety, and try to lose the guards who are chasing you. Once you're clear, you now have to get back to the bureau unseen and report your success. And you see, this was a perfect way to add that escape aspect in a stealth game. The act basically becomes the last step in the process. The only thing missing here were the tools to make escaping more engaging. I mean, imagine Assassin's Creed 1 with smoke bombs, stun bombs, traps, or even a grappling hook. Imagine the chaos and fun stuff you can pull off during a chase with those tools. But escaping shouldn't only mean the escape from the whole level. It should be able to happen even during a one-on-one encounter with a guard. So like I said earlier, abilities like Assassin's Focus and Stop Time give you an oh shit button that you can use when you're about to get caught. They are great for remaining unseen and avoiding those red alert levels. However, as we saw in AC1, getting those red alerts should not be the end of a stealth run. Instead, it should be the start of an escaped act. So how do you go about it? Well, the obvious one is just to quickly kill the guy that spotted you, right? Stealth games will likely give you a projectile weapons like bows, silence guns, poison darts, and maybe even a silenced rocket launcher. And you can use these to dispose of an enemy quickly. Then depending on the game, you probably want to hide that body somewhere to avoid enemies becoming suspicious. Alternatively, you can use non-lethal tools that will knock out enemies. For instance, in Mirage, there is the Mind Wipe upgrade for the smoke bomb that will make enemies forget Basim. Of course, pulling this off will depend on the game's stealth mechanics. If the game sucks, being spotted by one guard may mean that every guard in the country now knows your location. But if the stealth is at least half decent, there should be a way to pull off escaping from detection, and not cause you to reload to stop yourself from committing mass murder. Also, this approach will make the gameplay more immersive. Since you won't be reloading that much, you will be facing the consequences of your choices. So for example, if you decide to barge into an area without scouting first, then you're likely to get spotted even when you think you might be in a safe corner. Then you're gonna have to use your tools to escape and avoid letting guards alarm the whole army. And so yeah, I guess to summarize, there is no right way to stealth, you do you. However, to get the most out of a stealth game experience, at least during your first playthrough, try to minimize save scumming. Play the stealth game as if there are no reloads. Play slower to observe enemy patterns. Choose your paths carefully to avoid wrong turns. And use the tools you have to solve sticky situations and not just do cool assassinations.